but it's been quite a full day. Very, very busy with an awful lot of stuff. I don't know if that light is very good there. But welcome back to the program. Thanks for being here. It's always a pleasure to have the audience join me here. So why is this not loaded? Give me a second here. YouTube is being difficult again over here. Let me just get this working here. So it's still saying that I'm a minute away from broadcasting, but I'm already broadcasting. This is an odd one here. So just for some reason, it's not, I don't know if I'm live. Okay, I see that Mark Purchase is there. So Mark, you can see and hear me? Is that correct? Because I'm not seeing it myself for some reason on YouTube. Something odd going on here, but all right. So it still says upcoming instead of live. Okay. There we go. I am live. Okay. All right, good. Sorry about that, folks. Listen, busy day. Started my day in Durban this morning, filmed a video which has done very well today talking about the potential coalition between the ANC, the IFP, the DA, and the NFP. And then drove to Howick, where I had lunch with John and Paula Tunge. Of course, John, for those you don't know, is the founder, the world-famous founder of the Drakensberg Boys Choir. And then many, many years later, after 50 years, the founder of the Drakendale Choir, and now the Drakendale School for Arts here in Howick. And he's now undertaking a new venture in his 89th year. John is trying to start a conservatory for African music. And so we just did a short interview, and that's why I had to change the start time. I'll be editing, publishing that. You'll probably see it tomorrow or the next day. So my thanks to John and to Paul, a wonderful host. It's a pleasure to be back here in Howick once again. Unfortunately, I will not be interviewing Chris Pappas. He's not available until next week. So I won't be doing that in person like I've done in the past, but I will do it hopefully on the 24th and get that uploaded before I fly back to the States, and we'll talk to him about things. But anyway, folks, that light is terrible, isn't it? Yeah, if I come over here, it might be a little bit better here. Oh, yeah. I think it's a lot better. There you go. How's that? Is that a lot better, folks? Yeah, I think that's a lot better. Yeah, at least it looks better here. There we go. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in tonight. I appreciate being here. We'll talk about things. But after I posted that video this morning, I recorded that video on the beach in Durban, and then I went up, edited it, put it together, and a debate about whether making it a debut. When I said, you know what? This is breaking stuff. I better do this now and post it before the truth changes, because the truth did change later in the day. After it was announced that those four parties were working actively to form a coalition in KwaZulu-Natal to keep MK and EFF out of governance in this province and keep them in the minority official opposition, despite being the largest party. Then the news came that MK has sent an invitation to the Inkatha Freedom Party to join its coalition. And if they do that, it'll be an all Zulu party, not as in one political party, but as, party like it's 1999. So there you go. So let me take a look at the chat over here real quick and see who's in there. Let me get these eye collectors on here. Somebody is in Uganda. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Thank you for joining us from Uganda. I used to live in Uganda. Myra Page is here, Garrett Gillich. The male Jody Taylor. Please don't tell me the DA is snatching defeat from the jaws of... Well, they might be doing exactly that. Val Cooper's here. Jan Filion. AC meeting is normally about crimes to be done. Mark Purchase, good evening to you, Myra Page. Dylan Kombrick, Ernst, welcome to you. M135, Charles Van Olsen, the voice of reason. And then Peter John Vorst, good to see you again. Galawango Mohammed, welcome Galawango. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Thanks for coming in from Uganda. Are you in Kampala? I used to live in Kampala. Yep, in Muyanga, I think it was, outside Kabalagala there. And then we got Laudine Monday in from Howick, where I'm currently sitting in Howick. Laudine, how you doing there, brother? And who else we got there? Sandy Hunt is back this evening. Clive Streak, Dylan Kombrick, I mentioned already. There's Erica. Hey, Erica, how's it going? Lori Letton is in from Finland. Greetings to you. Slot Steenkamp and Ruvani Freibus. Harry says, but didn't IFP announce they would be working with ANC-DA? Yes, they did. They did. I recorded that video earlier, but I'm not saying that there's a deal, because the IFP has said categorically that they will not form any coalition with the ANC. So if they do, they're going to go back on what their previous statements were. So we'll see what happens. But I'm just saying that it is true that the MK party has sent an invitation to IFP to join their coalition. So we'll see if it happens there. Audrey, good evening to you. And then we've got, hi, Chris, more like sisters. Sorry, Laudine. Yeah, brothers, just bros. Sorry about that, Laudine. My apologies. Yes, more like sisters. Sorry about that. Yeah, just a generic phrase like guys. I apologize for that. Yeah, so just finished listening to IFP announcing them joining. Okay, well then that's an update that just happened. Again, I've been wrapped up after I got here. I spent the afternoon with John and Paula, and then went to dinner. Took them to dinner this evening. We had a lovely dinner at Woodstone, lovely meal, and then came back here. And I did an interview with a notable rugby channel. One of the journalists who met me at Loftus wanted to interview me, so we did a show together. I just finished that, and then I interviewed John Tungaze. That's why I had to delay this for about 15 minutes. And now I'm here. So there may have been some developments that have occurred in the last 3 or 4 hours that I'm not aware of. So my apologies if my information is out of date, but I did go looking for news updates and didn't find any. Oh God, this mustache is really acting its own little game tonight. Anyway, and I didn't see any updates. So thank you for that. But yeah, I don't think that IFP will go with MK, but it has been offered as an opportunity. That's the point I'm making here. Sandy says you're a busy guy. Oh, this is a slow day. I have busier days. I mean, yesterday I was in PE and I did the Bri Brews with Byron Shepherd from Morning Shot at the Sergeant Pepper's there in Gabiga Park, whatever it's called, in Gabiga, Port Elizabeth. And so we did that. I left there. I had coffee with Ronaldo Jos and a gentleman there from the DA. We had coffee at Indulge Coffee along the beach in PE. Then I drove to the airport, topped off, dropped the car off, got on the plane, flew to Durban, got my car. Fortunately, I got there about 20 minutes early. They were very quick, Fly Staff Air. Picked up my rental, loaded it up, drove to Suncoast, parked, took my bags in, checked into my room, stuck my stuff in so I get a little bit of juice in it. Went to a meet and greet. We had a lovely meet and greet last night at Tiger's Milk at Suncoast. After that, I came back and did my broadcast last night. And then I edited a video and I went to bed about 1 o'clock. So yeah, today was kind of a slow day by comparison. But that's what I do when I come here. Rovani says my beard looks bigger in South Africa. Well, you know, it's kind of like Alphaville. I'm big in Japan. Big in South Africa. Talon Bezuidenhout says, is there a chance IFP join MK after announcing they will work with DA? And we will see maybe the same, well, is a chance. It's a possibility, but I wouldn't hold my breath on it. Unless there's no other option or it's simply the best decision for IFP, Velen Colsini Halabisa, I don't think would go back on his word. So, anyway, Jacques says IFP did confirm that they have entered into a national union with ANC on national union. No confirmation if DA, PA, or another party. Okay, well, that's not a surprise. Yeah, they're willing to work with the ANC. They've done it before. Menage a trois wants to know if I'm in a hotel or bed and breakfast. No, I'm at a friend's house. Kindly, many South Africans offer me accommodation in their homes. In fact, Herman Ruiz has asked me to come back to his farm in Northwest. And now that I'm staying in Gauteng until the 19th, I'll probably take him up on that this Sunday and stay overnight there. Hey, Marilyn's in. I'll be seeing Marilyn tomorrow and Friday. So, yeah, maybe it's oxygen. What's that? I'm making you tired. Well, I do get around. Look, I mean, it costs me a lot of money to come to South Africa. This is a labor of love. I'm trying to get people to think critically and be cogent in their conversations. And this is, quite frankly, very interesting, exciting for me. But I do spend a lot of money, so I have to get the most for my money. Like last time I did some zip lining, but the zip lining was fun, but I did it for the video footage. I mean, if you look at my opening video now, you'll see me zzz down the zip line there at Sarah's at the end. That wraps up the video. And also to tell people, I like to report on good news stories, not just the bad news. And so, I mean, I went to the Betty's Bay Penguin Colony and covered that for folks. Frankly, watching penguins build nests out of their poo is not my favorite activity, but people find the penguins interesting. So I try to find some good news stories. Sandy Hunt says, we appreciate, well, I appreciate my viewers and everyone who's here. Thank you so much for being with us. When is Ronaldo, what do you mean excited for a swearing in, Kate? Or when is he going? Well, the swearing in keeps changing. It's supposed to be on Friday now at 10 o'clock, so he'll be in Cape Town for that. And originally I was going to be at that event. He invited me and sent my details along to the security people. But that was when it was on Monday. Friday, I will be in Gauteng. So let me run through my calendar update for those who are here who'd like to have me meet someone, appear somewhere, have a meet and greet, anything like that. So I've been asked to go to Val, and I think I can pull it off now. So here's what we're going to do. I will be here tomorrow, leaving for Durban, flying out early tomorrow afternoon, and arriving at Gauteng. I will go over to Northcliffe where I'll be staying for the evening. Friday morning, I will be on Gareth Cliff at 7:30 live on Gareth Cliff. If you'd like to tune in and listen to me in a conversation with Gareth once again in the studio. So when I'm done that, my Friday is mostly free. I'm going to try to set up some appointments with folks. And then Saturday, I'll be staying again in Northcliffe on Friday. On Saturday, I'll be staying in Pretoria, and I'll be at the Loftus game. And that's my schedule. Sunday, since people asked me to come to the Valley, to come down to the, not the Valley, to the Val, to come down there, then I may try to do that and then come back up on Monday and stay in, I'll have to work it out one way or the other, and stay with Herman, because Herman is on the farm every day, but many people are not available on a work day, so maybe Sunday's the day to come down to Val. Anyway, I worked through that. We'll figure that out. But I will be staying now in Gauteng until the 19th. Originally, I was going to leave on the 17th because of the swearing in, or the 16th. So now I get 3 or 4 more days in Gauteng. And on the 19th, I fly back to Cape Town. On the 20th, I'll be appearing at the Reformation Society Livingstone House in Rondebosch, speaking as a guest speaker there once again. And then I will have some time in the Western Cape after that. So, that's the rough schedule, what's going on from here till my time left. At this point, it's the 12th, I leave on the 25th, so I'm just past the halfway point, just under 2 weeks left. So, you must enjoy South Africa. All right, thank you for that. It's good to know people you've met are welcoming, Colonel, so you can spend less on accommodation. Nobody ever got anywhere in life without asking. No, Ravani, very generous. I've stayed with Herman Rulis. I've stayed at, Erica provided accommodation down in Amazon when I came. The Sightlanders provided accommodation in Uppington, and then also, in Uppington, that's where they took care of it. In Cape Town, people have offered, I've stayed with Justin, I've stayed with others. Yeah, I was very awkward and uncomfortable doing that on the first trip, but as it turns out, of the 30 nights I spent in South Africa, my first trip, the only nights that I took care of were the first night when I arrived and the night that I left. I stayed the first night in Cape Town at the Doubletree, and then the last night I stayed in Gordons Bay on that first trip. Every other night was taken care of by somebody. Either they paid for it, which was very generous of them, or they provided accommodation, or they knew someone that could get me accommodation. So it was really nice. So there's some really generous people out there. I appreciate that. Yeah, Father's Day is on Sunday. Congratulations to all fathers out there. Andre wonders what he'll be getting. Hey, George, what's going on? Paul is here. We'll see you when you come back to the 021. Okay. Like a week more in Gauteng then. Yeah, almost. Thursday to Wednesday. Yeah, it's about a week, yeah. Which was falling apart. So I will be meeting with, I forgot to mention one thing in there. On Tuesday, I have a meeting with Roman Kabanak from Morning Shot. We're going to do a stream again. Anna Marie Nell says, IFP accepted the nationally MK missed their appointment with IFP to discuss KZN. Yeah, okay, thank you for Anna Marie. Mari, thank you for that, Anna Marie. Pleasure. And there's Hendo. So there's a WhatsApp group for the travel. If you'd like me to go somewhere, to talk to someone, to do something, that's what that's for. Okay, let me get to some of the news here because we're just chatting away like a chatterbox. And I'm sure that people want to hear the news. JL says, is altijd welcome here in U Pretoria. Well, thank you for that, JL. I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's Tide te Trek tomorrow. Tide te Trek. And I'll be trekking to the Highveld tomorrow. Like the 4 trekkers, I'll be skedaddling out of KZN, not because Dingani's chasing me out, but because Pretoria's calling. It's like London's calling. Pretoria's calling. So I'll be up there in Pretoria and Joburg tomorrow. Looking forward to it. So there was a meeting that was supposed to be between the DA and the ANC, but it never happened. A scheduled meeting between the Democratic Alliance and the African National Congress did not happen today. The ANC was engaged in internal meetings and engagements with alliance partners, and there's no indication when the next meeting between the country's 2 largest political parties will happen. This leaves little time left for the first sitting in National Assembly at 10 o'clock on Friday to reach a final agreement. You want to bet that we may have political parties at 8:30 in the morning on Friday negotiating a government of national unity? Okay, so the IFP, if the IFP joins the ANC, that's not enough. The ANC has 40.2. The IFP has 44%. Just under 4%. So the two of them together don't make 44%. They're still 6% short. Going to need other players. Yep. So we'll see what happens there. Yep. On the process of reconciling with the African National Congress, Labisa said this presents an important opportunity between the two political parties to heal the wounds of the past, which does not mean coming together as one party. It remains an outstanding matter that we must resolve. Even as we campaigned against each other during the election, we knew that this was an outstanding issue. Reconciliation between the two political parties, especially the members, because there are areas where people do not want to see the posters of certain political parties because they killed their parents, as I discussed, and that's why it's difficult to have an IFP-ANC alliance. It takes two to tango. This might be the grace of God that we work together and close this chapter. We enter into a phase where we have reconciled as a country. Well, actually, that reconciliation, not the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, but the actually reconciliation between the ANC and CADA may be one of the most important political developments if it happens. That's a very difficult bridge to cross, and a lot of baggage in that one. But if it does happen, that should be interesting. So. Labisa said a government of national unity will succeed. So what makes governments fail is the failure to meet. The IFP brings experience, knowledge, and commitment to taking South Africa forward. I am confident that these parties want to take the country forward and not a standstill. This is what I said, folks. This is why, in my mind, the government of national unity is not the answer. A coalition of the willing between the ANC, the DA, and IFP, where both the ANC and the IFP show humility, or not, the ANC and the DA show humility, because neither one of them are popular enough to be the biggest party or to be the majority party. Neither one got a majority. So they should both show humility, and Mynheer Palapala should not be nominated. John Steenhuisen should not be nominated, but Velkoncini Labisa should be the man to be the next president. People laugh at me, but that is the smartest thing to do. On the multi-party charter block, Labisa says there's no official meeting to disband the structure. He said the goal was to push the ruling party below 50%. That was achieved. There's never been a meeting that disbanded the MPC except the briefing where Action SA was withdrawing. So Action SA withdrew, but no one else did. Yep. So he said that reports that the National Freedom Party's Barnes has entered into a coalition with the MK Party said, our team met a delegation of the ANC, DA, and NFP this morning. When you say there's circulating information the NFP has decided the other way around, we cannot speak for the NFP. We respect them as a political party. So on the news, oh, by the way, the ANC has removed their mayor from eThekwini, Durban. On news that mayor of eThekwini, that's Mokhlisi Kaunda, has been recalled, Labisa said this to say, the IFP, under no circumstances, no matter how unhappy we are with eThekwini, we could not use a local government sphere issue to bargain at the national and provincial level. People voted in the general elections. The issue of the mayor of eThekwini resigning is a matter of the African National Congress. The IFP did not raise any matter that raised the local sphere because we treat these as separate issues. Well said, President Labisa of the IFP, not of the nation. So he said on a framework, he said there's a work in progress detailing how political parties will work together. The document will be made public once the work is finished. Well, we would expect that. Jacob Zuma's overplayed his hand. It looks like he won't be able to play the kingmaker. You're correct, and he's going to lose KZN. So Zuma's overplayed it. But will that lead to violence? No prediction of that. But if you live in KwaZulu-Natal or Southern Mpumalanga or Soweto, and you have not done a rehearsal with your radios, you have not checked your JoJos to make sure they're full, you have not ensured that you have pumps to pump water from your fire pools to put out blazes when people throw Molotov cocktails. If you've not done rehearsals with your neighborhood watch group, then you are looking for trouble. You must be prepared. As the Boy Scouts say, always be prepared. You must be prepared for anything that comes. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying you should be prepared. Now, with regards to photos of Jacob Zuma and NFP's Ivan Barnes circulating social media, after the talks, Labisa says, this morning the president of the NFP, Mr. Barnes, was present in our meeting. There is nothing that prevents the president of the NFP from meeting with ANC, DA, IFP, and meeting, Ubaba Mushulozi, which is Zuma. Despite the meeting that collapsed on the MK party, there's nothing wrong with meeting with them. So there you go. Yep. And he confirmed that the coalition partners agreed that the IFP premier candidate, Tambi Ntuli, will lead the KZN province. There you go. Well, there you go. So IFP gets a premiership here if they work out this coalition. Wow. So lots happening today, and I did predict this, folks. I mean, it wasn't rocket science, and it's pretty obvious that this is going to happen very fast, very quickly, very dynamically today and tomorrow. So many announcements will be coming out. There'll probably be a lot of news in the morning as we wake up about what's happening in South Africa, and a lot of heads are going to be spinning. As these events unfold here in South Africa, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, but not exclusively here. Also, we've yet to hear anything, unless it's come out while I've been busy on what's happening in Gauteng, where the ANC got just 35% of the vote. Now, the Western Cape High Court has found that the EF doesn't have the right to disrupt Parliament. We actually need a court decision to make that clear. The EF does not have the right to disrupt parliamentary proceedings, according to the Western Cape High Court. It's the latest in defeat for the pajama, prison suit wearing, jumpsuit wearing EFF, the clowns in Parliament. Yeah, the Western Cape High Court dismissed the party's application to declare the removal of EFF MPs in 2015 and 2017 State and Nation address unconstitutional. They were constitutional. Gauteng is going to be a super interesting. Agreed, Jeffrey Thomas, and we don't know, and I can't make any predictions there. The DA has 27% and not enough. So the ANC has 35% and not enough. So we're going to have to see what happens in Gauteng as we go forward. It should be fascinating, to say the very least. So let me just get KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga. The ANC eked that one out. They're below 50% for a long time. So let me just take a look at here at provincial. I'm going to look at the numbers here in Gauteng and see if I can't come up with some sort of coalition that was going to work here. Provincial. Okay, load the provincial. Stop being difficult here. The webpage is a little bit slow. MK and EFF are cults of personality. I've said that, Mr. Farr. I've called them vanity projects and cults of personality. That's what they are. All right, so this thing is not loading. God bless it. Frickin' News 24. There we go. I want Gauteng. Let's get Gauteng numbers here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so 35%, 27% for the DA. So the DA, Action SA, 30%, Freedom Front, 32%. Not enough. So it's going to have to be something. The ANC will probably, I would guess, try to work with EFF at the provincial level here. That would give them 47, 48%, and then they just need 2%, and the PA would do it. So ANC, EFF, PA could work in Gauteng. Yeah, most exciting time in 31 years if you're a South African. Yeah, if you're 31 years old, no doubt about that. I think you've got a good point right there. That is a good point to make, is that this is the most exciting political development we've seen in many people's lifetimes. All the born frees have never seen any excitement like this. So let me see who else is in the chat that I missed here. ANC is now the party of Limpopo witch doctors. Hey, listen, folks, if you're wondering why the ANC lost this election, look no further than the turnout. Eastern Cape, ANC stronghold, a place they should roll, and they did. I think they got 62% in the Eastern Cape. I stand under correction, but I won't stand under correction on the turnout. It was 50%. Saw an interview with Tucker Carlson, the Prime Minister of El Salvador, about 2 years in the seat and change that he turned the country around. Yeah, okay, well, thanks for sharing that. So, yeah, Mr. Farr, 007, thank you for sharing your thoughts there. Teresa Smuts, you're not living in Cape Town. Who's not living in Cape Town? Pierre Orban is here. Welcome you. Gus is there. Good to see you again. Matthew Lee, falls apart or falls apart? Oh, fails apart or falls apart. Gotcha. Lauren Finn says, what are the options be for the PA? Well, Lauren, for the PA, they don't have a lot of options. Nationally, their best chance is if the ANC goes with the EFF and then the PA comes in. The ANC can rule that way. But the EFF has made it very clear they've been playing hardball. I don't think they realize how close they are to power. I don't think the EFF is that bright. If they would stop demanding that Ramaphosa be gone, they could have the deputy president. The EFF could. And then the PA comes in and they get home affairs, which they want, and that gives them 51%, and they're good. That's really the only place, other than the government and national unity, where they take part in it, where the PA gets anything out of this. They're too small. They're 2%. So the best option for them is if the ANC needs 2%, and the scenario where they need 2% is aligning with the EFF. There's a couple other options, but none of them are very likely, and it become much more complicated. That's the simplest fashion. Gauteng will be very interesting, agreed. And Jan says this is all precursor to violence in KZN and a showdown with ANC in uniforms. Well, the chances of violence in KZN increase, I believe, significantly if this alternate coalition of parties keeps MK out of power. So one of the people watched my video earlier said, I'm a black South African, I'm a VDA supporter, but it's not fair that MK doesn't get to lead KZN. They had the majority. I'm sorry, they didn't have the majority. MK got 45%, not 51%. 51% is a majority. 45% is a plurality. Plurality doesn't guarantee governance. And then the person said, well, everyone voted for the MK. No, they didn't. 55% of the people who bothered to vote voted against the MK party. So, you know, they don't have a majority. They have a plurality, and they need help. And if other people get together and come up 50 plus one and keep them out, that's not unfair. That's not unjust. That's not undemocratic. That is exactly how democracy works and popular vote. Yep. Okay. So, but if that happens with ANC, IFP, DA, and NFP in a coalition, there could be problems. We've already heard Jacob Zuma tell us not to provoke him, that there would be trouble. I'm not predicting. I'm just telling you, be prepared. Right. What else we got here? Okay. Charles. Okay. Clive says, Chris saw. Okay, I already read that. And then Mr. Farr. What do you guys got here? Okay. Ernst Malinga, please get to the point. My data is being finished. I got to the point. I've already covered it. I covered it in the opening monologue. What point do you want me to get to? The DA and the ANC did not meet today. They're running out of time. They're going to have to solve this, which the fact that they're even talking about it leads me to believe that MK is on the outs at the national level, and so is the EFF. So they're going to try to come up with something else. The IFP has already apparently announced they're going to go into this government national union with the ANC. So that means there's 44+% of the, or 44% of the electorate now for government. So I'm not sure which point you wanted me to get to, but thank you, Ernest Malinga, and I'm sorry your date is almost finished. Lord forbid Ramaphosa gets indicted, Malema becomes president. Nobody voted for Malema. There's no way he can legitimately become president. There actually is a legitimate way to become president. He's a member of parliament. There's nobody vote for any president. Only members of parliament do. So all that has to happen for Malema to become president is somebody to nominate him. They hold a vote. He gets a majority. He's president. Pretty simple. How has dirt been? Well, James, I stayed at the Suncoast and it was quite lovely there. Although, once again, the signs have not been changed in 30 years, it looks like. They're so faded and falling apart along the beach. It's disgraceful. There wasn't as much rubbish there as I saw in the main part of the beach down in the Central Business District. It's further north. Yeah, it was all right, but I didn't run around town too much. I just hit the road, went past the military order of the, what do they call it, the Moth? Anyway, there's a museum there, and then past Wyatt Street, and headed out on the road, so headed straight up to Howick. Anyway, went right past it, so I didn't see a lot of town, and I won't see a lot on the way back because I got to get down to the airport. So, just go buy some more data, says Jail. I might not have the resources. Florida Road, still okay. I'm not sure, Grumpy Gamer, which one's Florida Road. Don't know the road names very well. In Durban, I do know Wyatt Street. Imagine that I know where Wyatt Street is. So I don't know how to answer that question. Sorry. Just a second here. I got to get rid of a few windows here that are occupying space. So, by the way, Jabulani Kumalo's bid to go to Parliament is dead. The Electoral Court has decided that he was dishonest and misleading, and that he may have perjured himself in his statements. That's pretty damning for Jabulani Kumalo, and it strengthens Jacob Zuma's position. So Jabulani Kumalo will not be sworn in on Friday, and is not number one on the MK list anymore. Yeah, members of the Tin Hat. Thank you, Ants. Members of the Tin Hat. I know it's something like that, Moth. Right, they have a museum there, so, all right. Yeah, apparently the knives are out for members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC because they're talking to the DA. The bigotry and racism that goes on in the ANC is just beyond the pale. It is really something to watch. It's not something to admire, that's for darn sure, but it is definitely something to watch. So, as I said, the eThekwini Mayor Moxolisi Kaunda has been removed as the mayor of Durban. ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has removed embattled mayor of the eThekwini municipality and redeployed him to the National Council of Provinces. How about redeployment to the unemployment line? The unemployment line, a much better place for that man to be. We recall that Comrade, oh, you gotta love the commies, Comrade Molisi Kaunda served as MEC for Transport, Community, and Liaison until his redeployment to eThekwini in August of 2019. As we usher in a new era following the national and provincial elections, we are identifying key areas that require urgent focus, said the ANC Provincial Secretary, Becky Tolo. The dude failed. Durban is a disaster, a total disaster, a collapsed municipality that is in the death throes while feces washes up on the beach, the water is full of E. coli, and the rubbish bins are full, not to mention the floods and all the chaos as a consequence of malfeasance and malgovernance by the ruling African National Congress. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But he's been recalled. Hey, Stellenbosch University is shutting down that Wilgenhof residential location, the place where they supposedly all this bad stuff happened. It's going to be shut down. So Stellenbosch University is taking action. A panel recommended that they shut it down. Comes following allegations of initiation-like incidents at the residence. In January, IL, the Independent Line, reported disturbing items were found in 2 rooms during an audit of spaces and amenities of the residence. Why are people auditing spaces? An invasion of privacy there? I guess not. Yep. The panel consisting of the university's deputy registrar of governance, ethics, and compliance, an experienced independent advocate from the Cape Bar, and a former experienced university executive in higher education reviewed the items and advised on the next steps. So now they're going to shut it down. The hall is going to be shut down. Well, there you go. Well, that's one way to deal with it, instead of punishing the people who misbehaved. Yeah. Now, here's an interesting story. In California, this wouldn't fly anymore because Californians have decriminalized the intentional effort to murder someone. In California, it's no longer a felony if you intentionally infect someone with HIV because the morons in California think that it's okay to have HIV. It's just a chronic disease. No, it's a deadly disease, and you should never intentionally infect anybody. But a South African soldier who deliberately infected his partner with HIV has been found guilty of attempted murder. Former member of the South African National Defense Force has been convicted of attempting to murder and rape after intentionally infecting his girlfriend with HIV. Leon Santos Congo was sentenced by the Pretoria Magistrates Court on Tuesday after he was found guilty of rape and attempted murder. The victim was represented by AfriForum's private prosecution unit. So look at that. Wow. AfriForum stepping forward. Wow. Once again. According to AfriForum, the SANDF initially refused to release the records that led the National Prosecuting Authority to withdraw the case twice. Congo became romantically involved with the victim, who was also in the SANDF, in 2016. The victim has said she only consented to having sex with Congo on the understanding that he was HIV negative. She said they had discussed the issue before, but Congo never disclosed the status. She further added that if Congo had disclosed his status, she would not have agreed to have sex. The court also found the victim to be a credible witness. Despite her testifying after at least 4 years since the incident took place, she gave a clear and detailed account of what transpired. She didn't contradict herself or any aspect. Meanwhile, advocate Gerry Nel of AfriForum's head of private prosecution unit said the judgment was a significant development in the law because it has provided a better understanding of the meaning of consent. We share the victim's relief over the verdict, but we also believe she has been vindicated. When she approached our office, she was receiving no assistance, not even from the SANDF. The private prosecution unit will continue to support women who fight their way through the justice system in order for their voices to be heard. Well, there you go. So, interesting. Sentencing will be on August 7th. Whew, wow, that's good. If you intentionally do that to somebody, you should be convicted of murder, attempted murder. So there you go. Well, the Federal Reserve of the United States is holding the interest rates, trying to help the Biden regime stay in power. They're holding interest rates because interest rates have killed the Biden's economic policy. Yep, absolutely. Right, where are we at here? We're just a half hour into this program tonight, and we've lost a few viewers. I guess they're bored. Sorry to hear that. It's also late. I understand that. So, where was I at? Let me get back to where the program is. There it is. So, we've got Sam Pebbles. What? Trump felony counts. How many did Al Capone get? I don't know, Grumpy Gamer. I don't know how many Al Capone got. It was before my time. Hunter got charged with 3 felonies. He was convicted with 3 felonies, Rayvani. LS says, here in Zimbabwe, I mean Free State, we pray for our tires to last more than 3 days. I've been on Free State roads, and I can confirm that LS is telling you the truth there. And Donga's back. Showerman was supposed to be president in typical African countries beyond Limpopo. He'd have unfettered command. Huh? I have no idea what you're talking about. I guess Showerman, you're talking about Jacob Zuma. Helene Haystock says AIDS is not a death sentence. Oh, stop it, Helene. Stop it. Let's just be very clear about this. First off, I spent decades doing epidemiology and research and work into it. And antiretrovirals are deadly drugs. They just kill you more slowly than having a low CD4 count as a consequence of immunoviral deficiency from HIV. HIV is a deadly virus, and it comes with life-altering medical care and responsibilities not to inflict others. So anybody intentionally trying to infect someone with a deadly virus is attempting murder. That's just a statement of fact, Helene, a statement of fact. It's nonsensical that anybody would think or consider that intentionally giving somebody HIV is not tantamount to attempted murder. That's insane. The fact that California is basically decriminalized intentionally infecting someone with a sexually transmitted infection is morally bankrupt. It's good to see South Africa is actually following through on it. This is reprehensible conduct. How can somebody do that? A person that doesn't has no moral fiber or character. Simple as that. Simple as that. And HIV is deadly, and it does lead to AIDS many times. Now, that doesn't mean that people with HIV are going to die. Many people live long lives. Magic Johnson's still alive. And many people have it basically, for lack of a better term, it's not in remission, but it's not active and attacking their immune system. But it can happen at any time. Stress, poor diet, traumatic incident can cause your body to deal with things differently, and you wind up with your CD4 count dropping, and then you are subject to opportunistic infections, which healthy people aren't subject to. And you were healthy before someone stuck their wick inside you and intentionally infected you with HIV. Those people should pay a severe penalty. It's a morally reprehensible act. But you think about KZN and minority coalition between will be. I don't think it'd be a Wakanda, but I think there may be some challenges to it because the kingmaker is the NFP and they have one seat. That's pretty crazy. Rafani says HIV is very stigmatized in South Africa. That's a good thing. Well, I don't know that stigmatizing people who have HIV, I think, is not right either. I mean, many people get it, whether you get it through immoral or irresponsible behavior, or you get it because you're victimized by someone or by through accident, really doesn't matter. People with HIV should be able to live a normal life. They shouldn't be harassed. They shouldn't be stigmatized. I mean, that's just morally wrong as well. But to intentionally infect someone, first off, he raped her. I mean, the conversation's over right there. I mean, he didn't rape her because he loved her. He didn't rape her because he wanted to say hi. He didn't rape her to take care of her. He raped her for his own jollies or to inflict harm on her. And intentionally infecting her with HIV clearly was an effort to harm her. Yes, monkeypox has made an appearance in South Africa. That story was making the news today from Joe Pala, the health minister. Evening, our busy bee, Chris. Thanks for the updates. Just see Hendo post you're live. Take you safely. I'm not going to Cape Town. I'm not in Cape Town. No, I'm going to Gauteng tomorrow. Thank you for that, Deb. Half my staff are positive in clinic, don't have meds, so get it bought up from the KZN to save them from sitting in clinic for hours. Yeah, see, that's another problem here. So, I mean, you know, these if you live in a first world country, antiretrovirals are god-awful expensive, and insurance doesn't always cover that stuff. So to be intentionally infected by someone, and then you have to pay for medication and have to monitor your diet and have to monitor your stress and have to monitor and be responsible, it's ludicrous. And people get away with a misdemeanor charge in California. This is disgraceful. People in the governance in California has no regard for human life. Anybody that would do this to somebody is reprehensible. And again, this is not stigmatizing people who are HIV positive, far from it. But people who use their HIV status and their infection as a weapon are morally reprehensible human beings. And it's not as simple, well, okay, well, she's HIV positive now. No. It's a life-altering event that should never have occurred if the person had been honest and disclosed their status. He knew his status. He knew he was HIV positive. He raped her and infected her with a life-altering and deadly disease. Simple as that. There's no question about this. Amanda Antoinette Short says, have a few random questions. Here goes the first. So Zuma were released from jail because of ill health. He seems to be quite healthy. Will he complete his sentence? No. The reason he won't complete his sentence is because Ramaphosa foolishly ordered a remission of sentences for people in prison and freed 15,000 criminals, I think it was 15,000, including Jacob Zuma, to get Jacob Zuma out of jail. So his sentence has been remitted. In other words, it's been reduced to 0. So his jail time isn't applicable anymore. Even though he's a convicted felon, he doesn't have to serve the time because the president didn't pardon, but gave a remission. A remission is reduction in sentence because he claimed that the prisons were overfull. A lot of African leaders release prisoners on, Independence Day or National Day or something like that. So that's what Ramaphosa did. So Zuma's sentence is moot at this point, although frankly, he could be convicted of contempt of court for not turning himself in by midnight on July 4th of 2021. But I seem to be the only person in the world that actually paid attention to that fact. Certainly not the Constitutional Court, which should have found him guilty of contempt, but they didn't do it. They just cowards when it came to that after they sentenced him the first time. So you had several questions. That's just one, Amanda. And now you've deleted your question. Why did you delete your question? I answered it. Don't do that. I answered your question. Rome supposed to do what all presidents do, pardon their cronies for crimes they commit. How come the PA spent time but can run for parliament? Okay, Sandy, very good question. Very good question. So the way South Africa's law works for parliament under the Constitution, if you're convicted of and sentenced to more than 12 months of confinement within 5 years. So Gabe McKenzie was convicted of a felony back in the 1990s. It's been 5 years. He's done. He's satisfied the Constitution, so he can be a member of Parliament. That Jacob Zuma can't. He can't be a member of Parliament until 2026 because it was a 5-year conviction. But the argument they were trying to make is that Jacob Zuma can go into Parliament because his sentence was remitted or pardoned. Doesn't matter. The Constitution doesn't say whether your sentence is pardoned or forgiven. It says whether you're convicted, and he was convicted, and therefore, now if his conviction had been reversed on appeal, then it would be null and void. He could come in, but it wasn't reversed on appeal. He is a conviction; it stands. The fact that he got a remission in his time in prison doesn't affect the fact that he's a convicted felon, a convicted criminal who had a 15-month sentence, and therefore is ineligible until 5 years after the conviction. So that's, Sandy, I hope I answered your question there. People have to first acknowledge their HIV status before they accept treatment. Fort Sec was in California in December. Man, it has become a crap hole. Fort Sec, I was in San Francisco in 2018 for the Sevens World Cup, and it was already a crap hole. Feces on the street, prostitutes with no teeth walking up to you, propositioning right outside of fancy hotels, hypodermic needles all over the place. It's disgusting. Peter Empires, I remember that one, garlic, beetroot, and cabbage ministry. Yeah, that was Montage, whatever her name was, the Russian Soviet trained wackadoodle doctor. Yep. And Donga says, and Donga just answered the question that I did. 5 years after. No, you don't have to complete the jail sentence. It's not. No. You're mistaken, Donga. Double check that. It's 5 years from the conviction. And if I'm wrong, I stand corrected, Donga. But it's 5 years from the conviction, if I'm not mistaken, not from serving the sentence. Pretty sure that's what it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, Donga. You do say you're a lawyer. You're quoting a section, but I don't know if you're quoting from memory or quoting from having gone and gotten it. But yeah, he's not eligible yet. The remission has no impact on it whatsoever. Black intellect. Great analysis. Good to see a fellow American following this hugely important South African political landscape. Well, thank you, Black intellect. Fellow American. Thank you. There it is. Helene just gave the name. Shabalabala Msmang. Yes, that's who it was. Dr. Beetroot. Thank you, Helene, for that. Donga says, Charles, what's this? Yeah, Dr. Beetroot. What a wackadoodle. And of course, from the small-minded, small ego, fragile ego, Thabo Mbeki, who caused the death of probably 500,000 South Africans with his negligence and his small-minded fear that people pointing out the patently obvious must be commenting on the sexuality of black men. No, I don't think we really care about the sexuality of black men. The facts are quite simple for those of us who told you this over 20 years, you fragile egoed little toad. Because of the nature of relations and the nature of transport and the nature of the economy in Southern Africa, with mining hostels and hundreds of thousands of people away from their families and engaging with other women and prostitutes and the long-distance trucking routes in South Africa, plus the concept of the small house, where you have a formal relationship of marriage and an informal relationship with another partner, oftentimes having children with them as well. Because of the nature of these things in multiple concurrent partnerships, all of this makes a toxic mix, which creates a fertile breeding ground for the spread of sexually transmitted infections, in particular HIV. We told people about this, but, you're just a racist. I don't give a crap how many women a black man sleeps with. That's his business. But what I do care about is the reckless disregard for the scientific data by the cowardly, weak-willed, callow, which means the same as weak-willed, South African politicians who led to the death of so many South Africans with their negligence. Poverty causes HIV. Horse manure, poppycock. A virus causes it. Unbelievable. The arrogance and the cheek of South African officials. By the way, nevirapine given to pregnant mothers as they're giving birth reduced the transmission of HIV through the birth canal by 50% in newborns. 50% in 2000. Today, that figure is something like 90%. If there's a medical professional here, I stand a correction on that. It's something like 90% or better. By the way, just full disclosure, Nevirapine is a drug developed by Abbott Laboratories, and I am a shareholder in Abbott Laboratories. Have been since 1992, because they do fantastic work in the pharmaceutical industry and also in consumer goods. So, small-minded, weak-willed, Thabo Mbeki was angry that people were commenting on the sexual history of black men. They don't care about the sexual history of black men. That's up to them. But a government that prevents the free distribution of Nevirapine to prevent the transmission of HIV from mother to child during childbirth is a government that has no legitimacy whatsoever. It is a government of leftist science deniers, which is what they are. Rosalind says Thabo Mbeki didn't buy into the medical mafia. What medical mafia are you talking about? The great thing about this next parliament is members will have to actually do work. Exactly. And Luthuli House won't decide the future of South Africa. It'll actually have to be debated in parliament. Poverty doesn't cause HIV, and filth, it's how people act. Yep. What did I miss here? What a shame, though. I can't understand why so many Americans dislike their own country that they ruin it like that. Because a lot of them aren't Americans. A lot of them aren't Americans. 50 million foreign nationals living in America. This is fucking insane. And many of them have no business being there. Green card holders who we welcome in our country, who contribute, who attend university, who work in our workforce with our consent and our approval, they are welcome. But they are not the majority of the people. The majority of the people in our country are there illegally who are foreign nationals. Criminal alien invaders need to sec and get out. Colonel, it's 5 years after completion sentence. Okay, thank you, Ndonga. Thank you. I said I stand on correction. It was 5 years after sentencing, then serving lifers could find themselves elected parliament 5 years in. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking of, and I remember that conversation. Thank you, Ndonga, for, I said I stand corrected, after completion sentence. So in the case of Jacob Zuma, when he received a remission, that's when, not, they wanted to make the argument was when he got out of jail for medical, but that doesn't, no, that was what's the word for it? Compassionate release from prison. That wasn't a sentence. So when his remission went into effect the next year, so what, 2022? So it'll be 2027 then. So he won't be able to stand for municipal elections either. Not that he would. Thank you, Ndonga. Appreciate that. Whoops, where are we at here? Great thing about this, okay, I already read that. So these things are getting away from me here. Willem Scott, welcome to you. Green Fam says, what happens if somebody is born with HIV? Does the baby become a carrier and is not affected by HIV? No, if someone is born with HIV, then they will have it lifelong. Although there's arguments that antiretrovirals, you've got a low viral, count and that people don't exhibit it, but it's still there, whether it's hiding in your spinal fluid or it's hiding in your blood, it's still there and something could activate it. But with the advances in medicine, many people are born with it and live lives, healthy, productive lives, but they have to be cognizant of their health. They have to spend money unnecessarily on medical care that they wouldn't have to spend if it hadn't happened. So yeah, Jay-Z had a role in the hay with HIV. How he made it this far, God only knows. Well, if that's one we know about, Andre, how many others do you have a role in the hay with? Amanda Antoinette Short says, all I can say, our political landscape might look shambles, but still way better innocent than what is happening in America. I don't understand that comment, innocent. What's way better than what's happening in America? No, that's not true. We've got problems, but you've got serious problems in South Africa. Our infrastructure works despite the lies of the mainstream media. I drive all over and fly over the United States, and it's simply a lie about our infrastructure. There are, of course, places that need to be repaired all the time. But we have governments that typically plan out the upgrades and the maintenance of highways, bridges, and tunnels over time. But we have a massive amount of infrastructure compared to most countries. So that takes a lot of resources and time. In the United States, I don't have people breaking into my homes. I don't have to set alarms and put bars in front of my house and hide behind gates. I mean, I can leave the keys in my front door and nothing's going to happen. I can leave my car unlocked. I can leave my wallet on the front seat of my car. I'm not going to do it, but I could, and nothing would happen. My electricity works fine. My grocery stores are full of goods. No, it's true we have a bunch of wackadoodle leftists that are in government, but we'll remove them at the ballot box unless they stuff them, which they're going to try to do. So I don't understand. But Amanda, you may have a point that I missed, so please share it. I'd love to hear it. No, the Fed did not lower the rate. They kept it steady, Kinar. It didn't change. Trump is going to lose and be another loser Republican election third in a row. No. Republicans have won 2 elections in a row, and they'll win this one. That'll be 3 in a row. Yep. Yep, 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 yep. Yep, 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 yep. So for the first time, ANC actually have to do the job. They will be under scrutiny everywhere. NHI is dead. Yep. The feeding troughs in KZN and Gauteng are gone. Shame for the caterers. Yeah, and a lot of caterers are without a job today. And isn't that a lovely thing? Isn't that a lovely thing? When intelligence office uses the term activate the disease, my ears perk up, but he's referring to natural causes. I have no idea what you're talking about, Light Rain. What intelligence office are you talking about, and what activate the disease? America is way safer than South Africa. Joe Biden and the Dems are insane, but Americans like you, Chris, keep the wheels greased correctly. Thank you, Ravani, and that's true. We have a lot of problems, and I'll be the first to admit them and criticize my government. The deficit spending is burying us in a death spiral that is affecting our economic prosperity and will cause us severe angst and trouble in the future. It has also become the single largest item in our budget. In the discretionary budget, which isn't discretionary, the federal government must now spend over $1 trillion a year paying off the interest on our national debt. This is reprehensible. This is a consequence of cowardly politicians who spend money that we don't have for 40 years now. Yep, that's true. That's all right, Ruvani Fribus. I get the autocorrect. Happens to me all the time in WhatsApp. I have to correct my spelling there a lot. I type something and then it autocorrects behind me to something incorrect because a long time ago I must have typed a word incorrectly. Where would you rather be, Detroit or Johannesburg? Honestly, Green Phantom, I'd rather be in Johannesburg, but with flamethrowers, crew serve weapons, body armor, and drones. Grumpy Gamer says Cape Town. Hunter Biden did Joe Biden election campaign damage. I don't know, though. I don't think it's really going to affect Joe Biden. He's already toast. Joe Biden is dead in the water. His campaign is gone. It's dead on arrival. Kind of like Joe Biden. It's a walking corpse. Yeah, it's Night of the Living Dead. It's what's that show? The Walking Dead. Isn't that the show? That's what Joe Biden is. He's a walking corpse. He has been for some time. He lost this election. He completely screwed the pooch, and it's all over. Ella says, I agree with you, Chris. U.S. is still way better in so many ways. I've been there 3 times. We leave the car with windows open. Fort Lauderdale, where my dad lives. Yeah. No, look, what you guys have to understand is that the United States is a massive country. South Africa is a big country, but the United States is a massive country spread out over the entire continent and then even further up in Alaska and off into the Pacific. We're a massive country and things are different in many different places. That's why we have so many different, different accents in America. People in Georgia don't speak the way I do. People in Maine don't speak the way I speak. People in Kentucky don't speak the way I speak, and it's just a state away. And in Maryland, my cousins don't speak the way I do. You know, they start talking about in the state of Merlin. I thought it was Maryland, not Merlin. And, they say hun, short for honey all the time. And they're not talking about their lovers and friends. They're just talking about, people they meet in the street. How you doing, hun? It's a very different thing. So it's a massive country. Some places have trouble. California and New York. Other places are well run and reasonably, well, not reasonably, very safe. So you have to take it, you have to give me a location to talk about it, and we can go from there. 19 South Africans in the USA size-wise. I have no idea what Helene is saying there. What's happening in Chicago shows U.S. is backwards. Crime rate is insane. Okay, Michael, thank you for your bigotry. The United States has a fraction of the murders per capita and numerically that South Africa has. South Africa has close to 90 murders per day. A couple years ago, the latest statistics released, the United States had 14,000 murders and South Africa had 23,000. This despite the fact the United States population is 6 times that of South Africa. We had less than half, or we had half the murders of South Africa. So you'd have to have 12 times your population in order for us to have the same number of murders. It's just, no, stop with the nonsense. Stop with the nonsense. And the murders occur overwhelmingly in specific locations amongst a specific cultural group attacking their own group. Yep. Most of the murders in the USA are in the hood, yes. And Helene says it again. I don't understand what she's trying to say. Oh, the size. Okay, gotcha, Helene. U.S. is 19 times larger than South Africa. You're talking about physically. Thank you, Helene. Appreciate that. Sorry, I misunderstood what you said. U.S. has far more murders than U.K., which you say is equivalent. No, you can't. That's nonsense, Michael. That's nonsense. No. The UK has 61 million people. We have 360 million people. And you have more murders here. So, you look, you want to play this game? Well, Iceland has no murders. Japan has no murders. That's not what you're talking about. We're talking about South Africa, and you're comparing U.S. to South Africa, and then suddenly you're going to change the rules of the game. Can't do that. Doesn't work that way. We have GDP that just dwarfs yours. I mean, even our poor live better than most of your wealthy in South Africa. You want to compare that? I mean, we're going to show who's got the bigger penis here, So deficit plan to use Anwar oil or dedicated to deficit reduction as Norway did. Gus, I'm not familiar with that. You're talking about the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and use the oil there, which is so many billions of barrels. But the oil doesn't belong to the government, so how is that going to reduce our deficit? And it's not enough oil there to get rid of $34 trillion in debt. And that's just scratching the surface. That's just the federal debt, folks. That doesn't even talk about state, county, municipal debt, corporate debt, consumer debt, credit card debt, mortgage debt, which dwarfs all of that. I mean, we're in hock. We're in hock. America's in debt. We were a creditor nation. Now we're a debtor nation, and it's disgusting. It's frankly quite disgusting. It never should have happened, but cowardly politicians are why we're here. Murders per 100,000 is far worse in the U.S. than the U.K. Okay, well, Michael, what's your point there? I don't live in the UK. I live in the US. So what does that got to do with it? Deidre Terrell, South Africa is like World War Zone with the murders. Yeah, it's crazy. It's hectic in South Africa. I mean, in broad daylight, guys walk down the street with AK-47s and shoot taxi bosses. It's insane. It's absolutely insane, folks. I can tell you England is becoming more, it is very dangerous. And, when they take the guns away, they just murder each other with knives. Look at London. Then they take the knives away. And they run over each other with cars. Would you mind explaining what money debt the U.S. government has and owns debt? Well, Etienne Villon, no problem with it whatsoever. So the U.S. issues debt instruments. John, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Issues debt instruments like treasury bonds and treasury notes. So anybody can buy these things. You can go online, you register, set up an account, social security number, and you can buy them. If you're a foreign entity, you have to get a taxpayer identification number, and you can do it. So the things are sold at auction, and the coupon that comes along with the interest rate is based on the prime rate. So for the past 30 years, the U.S. has issued debt mostly at less than 1% interest, which has been great for us because by the time they pay back the debt, the money's worth less because of inflation than when they borrowed it. So it's brilliant. Really smart move, but not good to have the debt. So the U.S. federal government owes over $34 trillion. Now, the debt is owned by a variety of sources. Individuals like me, I used to have savings bonds. That's part of the debt. I've cashed them all in years ago. Don't have savings bonds anymore because they had matured after 30 years. Then Japan, but China, the UK, Germany buy our debt. Many countries buy our debt, but the biggest single holder as a group of U.S. debt is not foreign nationals. Only about a third of our debt is held abroad. 2/3 of U.S. foreign debt for the federal government is held by Americans and American institutions like the California pension system, CalPERS, insurance corporations, finance, mutual funds. These are organizations, any money market you have typically has U.S. federal debt. It's in there, earning interest at a small rate. And that is where the debt goes. That's the federal debt. Then the other debt, like if you live in a municipality that's fixing their sewage system or delivering water, then they'll issue bonds, tax exempt bonds, because it's a utility and the federal law allows for that. So you don't pay taxes on the income, so they have a lower interest rate, which helps local municipalities get money to build infrastructure, and they do that, and they pay it back. So there's all kinds of debt, but I hope I answered your question. I think I did. Open cycle gas turbine goes brrr. UK is doing better than the EU. Who are your three worst presidents in USA history? Oh, Michael Holmes. Okay. Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Jimmy Carter. There you go. Three worst presidents in U.S. history. Light Rain says, funny the Colonel speaks a clean version of English without much of any regional accent. It sounds like a version spoken in coastal Washington, Oregon, on the other side of the country. No, Light Rain, it's a version of English that's spoken in the Midwest. I have a Midwestern accent. Yeah, it's a very clean version, and it's the kind you'll hear from radio announcers, television personalities who do the news. It's a Midwest accent. It's taught to students in radio, television programs, universities around the country. And if you're from the Midwest, it's easy. Now, there are parts of the Midwest where they have strange accents, like, y'all, for sure, if you're like from Minnesota, up there up north, in the great white north, those people up there have a funny accent. That's sure for sure. They eat a lot of lutefisk. That's because they come from Norway. And they have this still after 150 years. They have these strange accents in Minnesota. Yeah, I heard you were sleeping with the little feller. Yeah, I was, for sure. Yeah, no. As you get some strange accents, you get a Wisconsin accent too, with a little bit of that. There are some accents, but generally speaking, a Midwest accent sounds the same, almost the same from Ohio all the way through Nebraska, even into Colorado. So that's what I have. Mark says, well, if you live in the UK, you will not think so. About what? Our taxis think they own the roads. You think your taxis do? Try driving from Durban up towards Van Reenen Pass. The truck drivers, 3 lanes of traffic. Instead of being in the left-hand lane, they're riding the middle lane, slowing traffic down while the left-hand lane is empty, and they're overtaking nobody and clogging traffic and causing accidents. And then go up a hill and they pull into the 3rd lane and have 3 trucks abreast going 40 kilometers apiece, impeding traffic. It's absolute insanity. These people are shameful. Jessica back from Minnesota was going to say no Midwest accents. No, yeah, for sure. Lightweight, up there they got a strange accent. Go ice fishing out there on the lake, and with the girlfriends, they have a lot of fun up there in Minnesota. Yeah, they get out in the woods. It's a special place, Sometimes they sound like Canadians, eh? Anyway, so I've seen this man in a Cheetahs jersey. Yes, you've seen me in a Cheetahs jersey, a Bulls jersey, a Lions jersey, a Sharks jersey, and today I bought another Sharks jersey. 4 Bulls jerseys last week and a hoodie. All on sale. I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not wealthy. I'm just getting things that they're putting on sale. John Kugel says, what if we use drones for instruction logistics and build anew in the Northern Cape? Johan, companies are doing that privately. We've already seen, for instance, we've seen Amazon using drones in their warehouses and trying to pilot them for delivery of goods in urban centers. Yeah, that's coming. Yeah, Van Reenen is very dangerous coming up. Not so bad going down, but very bad coming up. Or going up, I should say. Always wanted to see an American trailer park so I can see if that crazy crap is even real. Lots of normal people live in trailer parks. I lived in a trailer park as a kid. It's pretty crappy. Yeah, and there are plenty of them. Trucks are a problem because their railways don't work. Correct, Helene, and I projected that when I discovered the rails were ripped apart, the lines ripped out, the phone lines ripped out, the actual rails gone. Yep. Muriel says, hi, good, you're up. Of course I'm up. I'm always up. There's a GAS under there's gas under the Northern Cape. Yeah, well, they don't want you to frack, though. But you should be using it to fuel your gas turbines. That's what you should be doing. And Ruvani says, what's better, American football or rugby? Well, I grew up with American football, was a huge fan of it, and I love the NFL until Colin Kaepernick disgraced America with his garbage black supremacy nonsense. And then the NFL entertained that notion and lied to the public, and I lost interest. I've always loved rugby, but I used to prefer NFL, but for me, it's hands down rugby these days. Debbie says Van Reenen Pass is the worst spot ever to travel between Natal and Joburg. Poor angels have to work overtime. They do. They do. Kinar wants to know my stance on crypto. I'm not a fan. Crypto to me is nothing but mere speculation, like currency speculation. There's no guaranteed return. There's nothing underlying it other than confidence. And the confidence, you can see, gets shaken quite easily in the crypto market. And also there's multiple forms of crypto. And, I'm not a fan. A lot of people are like, oh, you can make money in crypto. Well, you can make money in pork bellies, but I wouldn't recommend you invest in pork bellies. So it's your prerogative if you want to do it, but I don't invest in crypto. That's how Grasshopper feels about crickets and sits up the knee. Well, I agree 100% with that. And how do you find black supremacy? Well, how do I find black supremacy? The same way that people define white supremacy. People that seem to think that one group of people is better than another and deserve advantage or privilege based on that being better. There's no such thing. I'm no better than you. You're no better than me when it comes to our innate capabilities. This is an immutable fact. I cannot change my skin pigmentation. You cannot change your skin pigmentation. I cannot change my dead sexy looks. God was just kind. I'm very attractive. Yeah, no. But seriously, these are immutable facts. You can't change them. Being black, being white, being brown, you can't change that. That's just how you were born. That's your DNA structure. And we arrive in this world the same fashion, and we go out in the same fashion. Maybe not, we may not pass the same way, but we leave, is my point. And the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, is that when people use those differences to advance one group over another, that's supremacy, claiming that one group is better. Nobody's better. You're not better than me. I'm not better than you. Now, if I behave better than you, I may be a better person. If I utilize my innate skills in a better fashion than you, that may make me smarter, wealthier, better off, but it doesn't make me better. It's how you behave as a Homo sapien that makes you better or worse than someone else. There are incredibly wonderful people who are black, who are brown, who are white. And there are incredibly terrible people who are black, who are brown, who are white. So black supremacy are these lunatics who seek to elevate black people above everybody else. White supremacists are the same thing. And they're both morally reprehensible. They just are. If you don't like that, then you're on the wrong channel. We leave the gas alone, or it'll say it's stolen. Grumpy Gamer says, I'm better than all of you. Well, that's good to know. Grumpy Gamer is doing very well. Yes, racism is profitable for politicians and for business people too. BLM killed cricket, yep, but your blood is red. Yeah, once it hits the air. ANC DA coalition, what about it? Most people in BLM would be ashamed in Africa. They've never even been to Africa. And it says, I love it when you do the hillbilly accent. Minash says, CK wasn't promoting black supremacy, just protecting police brutality. No. Okay, let's just be very clear about that. I wasn't talking about, if that came out, I wasn't talking about Colin Kaepernick and black supremacy. I was talking about the NFL. Okay, first off, let's just deal with some myths here very quickly. We're told that America is a systemically racist country. That would mean the entire system is rigged against black people. That's horse manure. How does Johnson become a billionaire with black entertainment television if the system is rigged against black people? How does Tiger Woods become a billionaire if the system, and a white trophy wife from Sweden, if the system is rigged against black people? How does Quincy Jones become so wealthy? I mean, it's ridiculous. Michael Jackson. So let's talk about the NFL. The starting salary a couple years ago, I don't know what it is now, was a couple years was $485,000 a year guaranteed rookie minimum. Guaranteed. $485,000 a year. That is about 5 times the per capita income of the average American. 65% of the NFL is black, yet only 12% of the population is black. Systemic racism, horse manure. And protesting, Colin Kaepernick, who is the product of drug addicts who couldn't raise their child, adopted generously by a rich white family and raised and given all the privilege and access to everything, and then disses his white family who raised him as parents and treated them like crap, and then takes a knee against the anthem? No, that's not black supremacy. That's just stupidity. Stupidity. His actions since then indicate that he is a black supremacist, but not taking a knee. And that had nothing to do with George Floyd. That's poppycock. Poppycock. George Floyd is a felon who took a fentanyl overdose, and because of his arrogance, now there's a police officer residing in prison for having followed the law. So let's not get into that one. Etienne says, not sure if you missed it or skipped intentionally. Is the money creation debt from the central bank separate from the government debt you mentioned? Yes. The Federal Reserve also has a pile of debt, which is a consequence, but it's added into the same thing because the Central Reserve, even though it's sensibly independent, it's still the U.S. government. Anyway, legally it's not, but it is, trust me. Anyway, so the Federal Reserve created this this whole category of debt with quantitative easing, in which they printed money digitally and increased the money supply and thereby devalued the dollar and bought all this debt. And so, yes, there's two forms of that debt. So that's a good point. But that's not really the distinction most people need to know about. How can a country that's 10% black struggle so much to get it under control? I don't know. How can a country that's 80% black struggle so much? American police mean business. They're different from the police in Europe. They don't even try to protect people against violent crime. I admire the American military police. You mean the Europeans don't try to protect people? Yeah. Yes, Kaepernick has got white privilege. Yeah. You can't force people to believe in the truth. Ella says, what would you suggest to happen in Western Cape to decrease crime rate, and why is it so high in the best run province? Well, whether it's the best run province or not is a debatable point. A lot of people argue it's not. I think it's pretty well run. How can you reduce crime? Well, number one, stop the influx of people into the Cape Flats and overcrowding there. That's number one. Number two, Start prosecuting criminals. Put them in jail. Put a deterrent up there. People are largely not caught for their crimes. And then you have to go and break gangs apart. And that's going to take time. That's a good way to start it. And, there you go. U.S. is literally built off, oh, dear God, here we go with the fantasy fairy tales and the lies. Literally built off of Native Americans. That's horse manure. Then African slaves, horse manure. It's literally built off so many atrocities. Well, Michael, thank you for your bigotry and your uninformed drivel. Look, we've debunked this horse manure so many times. I'm not even going to get into it tonight. I don't have the energy for debunking Mike's lies. What a crock. Federal Reserve has $1 trillion unrealized loss. Yeah, from quantitative easing and from the debt that it purchased for the federal government. Yep. Jails are full. Not everywhere. Menage says the results of all levels of this government discrimination is denied generational wealth opportunities. Oh, stop. This is such garbage. Generational wealth. Bullshit. There's plenty of generational wealth in black families. Stop it. This is another Marxist garbage, been debunked by many people, including Dr. Victus Davis Hanson, Dinesh D'Souza, and a host of people who actually know what they're talking about. Generational wealth. Give me a break. So your claim that black people don't have generational wealth because of systemic racism. So why don't I have generational wealth? So you tell me this. All right, so menage a trois. My 17th great uncle was the first royal governor of the Jamestown County, Virginia, Sir Francis Wyatt. Where is my fortune? Where is my land? Where is my generational wealth? Do you know what I got? Bupkis. My mother died, not a penny. My father died, not a penny. Lived on public assistance as a kid, had to go to university with borrowing money and making student loans and getting grants. So where is my generational wealth? I'm a 17th generation American. Where's my white privilege? Where's my wealth? That's horse manure. Stop it. Besides, the government takes money from people when they die. That's why they don't have generational wealth. Friggin' inheritance tax. It's ridiculous. Oh my, come on. You're smarter than that. Ravani says, have a coffee tomorrow. Well, thank you for that, Ravani. And thank you for your third super chat. We need to build more jails. In fact, we need to have many private jails. Guys, come on. This has been debunked. It's been proven by economists over and over again. This is ridiculous. People take this nonsense and just run with it, and they just, look, I am not the product of my 17th grade uncle who was the royal governor of Jamestown County, Virginia in 1621. No, I'm not. I may share DNA, a little fraction of DNA with that gentleman, but I'm not the product of him. I am the product of my parents knocking boots and the egg being fertilized from the fast swimmer, and then being raised horribly in poor conditions as a youth, and then becoming an adult and doing virtually everything in my life 180 degrees opposite of what I saw growing up and what I saw around me, and being a morally responsible person of character and integrity. And I had the same opportunities that Black Americans had. Black Americans who started with no money had the same opportunities I had, born on Christmas Day, the year I was born. Same opportunities. Living in a society where they had equal treatment under the law. Simple as that. And people can claim otherwise, but that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's not true. In fact, many Black Americans have advantages I don't have because they're Black. And we can go in there for hours. But I don't sit here and cry about people getting advantage. I just say that everyone should be treated equally under the law and fairly. And no one should be discriminated against because of their skin, because of their faith, or because of their gender. That's morally reprehensible. Especially do research in the Reconstruction era, Civil Rights era, to say the U.S. government never did structural racism against African Americans wrong. I didn't say that. See, menage a trois. Why are you being difficult tonight? You're just making crap up. I never said that never happened. That's just silly. But that's not the statement you made. You said that the America is built off the Native Americans and then built off of the Black. No, off of slavery. No. I didn't say that they didn't. Oh my goodness. Wow. Reconstruction era, I'm very well familiar with it. Republicans passed the 13th Amendment to end slavery, the 14th Amendment to guarantee citizenship to former slaves, and the 15th Amendment for voting rights. Very well aware of it. And then they also sent federal troops to occupy the southern states that had been in rebellion to ensure that Blacks got a chance in life. And we see state legislatures full of Black Americans all the way up until the Reconstruction era ended. And then Democrats began their Klan activity and the racism and bigotry that chased blacks out of the Congresses and legislatures across the South. Yeah, that's the history. That was Democrats, not the federal government, Democrats at the state level who did that stuff. Yeah, so the history of the federal government is extending rights and protecting black Americans. So give me an example of what the federal government did that was structurally racist against black Americans in the Reconstruction era. What did they do? Give me an example. I'm not saying they don't exist, but give me. Just Jacques says, provoking me? Jacques, you haven't seen me provoked. You think this is provoked? Dude, you have not seen me provoked. You can ask some long-term viewers what provoked looks like. You want to see provoked? Go watch Ronaldo's stream when Scott Balsack attacked me and called me names in 2022 when I came back to South Africa and I was in Mossel Bay at the Santos Express and I called into Wednesdays with the Colonel. You want to see provoked? That's provoked. This is just a healthy conversation. Dude, if you think this is provoked, no, this is not provoked. Yes, Brendan, on the EU elections, I did look at it, and conservative and right of center parties did very well, according to the press. I don't see much change, though. The Alternative for Deutschland didn't really gain anything, but the Greens lost 9 seats. Whew, they got smoked. And basically the left held on, but the right gained across Europe in most countries. So generational wealth has been researched to disappear after the 3rd generation. Yep. The truth is there are people that want to see society. There are plenty in the U.S. government. The reason people would do this, I have no idea what Green Phantom's talking about. You have to work for what you want to achieve. Agreed, Elma 5 pence. End crime. What's that? You cannot end discrimination by having more discrimination. Exactly. BEE is simply racial discrimination, and it only enriches a handful of people. No, Jacques, I'm not provoked. What country is colder for you? South Africa, where you live. Oh, genre. Pennsylvania is much colder. Right? This is not cold. It's chilly, not cold. The real issue we're facing in the world today is just laziness. Yeah, too lazy to think, too lazy to face their own personal issues, and too lazy to fix their own lives. Instead, project outwards. Agreed, 100%. 100%. Your beard is provoking my beard. I love when Chris gets fired up when he's passionate about something. I'm not that passionate because I'm a guest and I don't want to be screaming in people's homes. You know, my privilege is that I worked for it all myself. No family help. Yep, there you go. Miro Hayes, if you have a legal system that never convicts the guilty, how will a country stop crime? Case in point, South Africa. Yep. Okay. Standing. So I did say that about Native Americans. I'm not making anything up. Andrew Johnson pulling troops out is what caused Southerners to get away with murdering black people. No. The Andrew Johnson didn't pull the troops out. He pulled some troops out from some places, but federal troops stayed in the South for over a dozen years. Andrew Johnson was not the president for a dozen years. You're selectively applying history. You need to know the whole history and talk about the whole history. And it wasn't Southerners. It was Southern Democrats. Southern Democrats. Get the story. There were a few Republicans, but mostly overwhelmingly Democrats. Structural racism is Africa continue to keep slaves at this very moment. We don't have proper installation in our country. We're not designed for cold. That's true. No double glazed windows or insulated ceilings. Yep. Did ANC meeting fail or fall apart? No, it never occurred. It never occurred, Sandy. That was the problem. It was supposed to happen today. They're running out of time. They've got tomorrow, and that's it. 10 o'clock on Friday, they're going to be voting. And we don't know what the story is yet. So tomorrow may be a big news day. We'll see. Of course, my luck, it'll break while I'm on the flight. Internet says, recent history shows that a political party are able to weaponize your law and judiciary system. You're no longer the land of the free. Are you saying that's America? Because you may have a point. All right. Freezing and limited electricity. Sorry about that, Muriel. South Africans honestly hate the cold. They do. Black, white, and brown. They don't like the cold. Zimbabweans, Nigerians are a lot of it. Okay. There you go. All right. So, yeah, I think I've answered a lot of those questions that people have posed to me. It's 11 o'clock. My apologies for the late streams, folks, but I mean, I have a full day. I'd like to get these earlier. When I start by 7 or 8 o'clock, we get huge audiences. We have good audiences here, but we get huge audiences when I go earlier here in South Africa. So I'll do my best to try to do that. But I think it's Friday night, or no, it's tomorrow night. There's a major high school rugby tournament or game going on. I'll probably be going to that in Joburg. And so I won't be on tomorrow until late if I'm on at all. And then Friday evening, I'll probably do an earlier stream. We'll just see how that goes. Lee Atwater explained the Southern strategy, pulling the former Democrats into modern. Okay, that's Lee Atwater is a propagandist. That's fairy tale. That's just Democrats lying to you. What a bunch of nonsense. What a total bunch of nonsense. Okay, so Dinesh D'Souza is completely debunked and given facts and figures and names of those involved in the Southern strategy. The Southern strategy had nothing to do with taking Democrats. The Southern strategy was Nixon's plan for winning Southern states, and it wasn't about taking Democrats. This is about the whole big switch that supposedly occurred. Never happened. It's a lie. Only 2 Democrats became Republicans, Strom Thurmond and one other. That's it. There was no big switch of Democrat racists becoming Republicans. This is a lie told by Democrats to the gullible who are too lazy to do the research, which Dinesh D'Souza has done for you, so you don't even have to be lazy, to learn the truth about the big switch and about the Southern strategy. It's not, you got to stop. Guys, you got to read for yourselves. You got to learn. You got to critically evaluate things. You can't believe the garbage you read in the media. You can't read the garbage that the press gives you. You have to look for yourself. The point you just gave me is a talking point. It's a pure talking point from the Democratic Committee. Dinesh D'Souza is a brilliant American, a person of color from India who came to America and succeeded behind his wildest dreams, who was politically persecuted for what should have been a financial fine and sent to prison as a federal felon by the scumbag Barack Obama because Dinesh D'Souza did a biography of Barack Obama exposing what a fraud he was. And so he used the Justice Department to go after Dinesh D'Souza for a crime that Rosie O'Donnell admitted to committing and was never charged for and did it repeatedly, intentionally, whereas he did it by mistake. Dinesh D'Souza, a brilliant American, debunked all of this garbage. Just read on it. You find out more. Do you know of Camp Hawaii? No, never heard of it. No, never heard of it. My twin coming out next week for my bone marrow. Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. That's going to be painful. Ravani Frabis is out of here. And Lee Atwater explained. Okay, I read that. Okay. Joshua, Colonel, please move to South Africa. We've not had load shedding since you've been here. Well, you have no load shedding. Tornadoes hit PE, Eastern Cape, and Tonga over here. It storms. While I was in the Western Cape, things were pretty good. I went to Gauteng. The weather improved there. It was fantastic. I flew to PE the day I arrived. It was gorgeous there. As I left, the clouds were coming in, so they rained after I left. I came here to Durban, and the weather's been great. So, yeah, I get some good luck with that stuff. Maybe that's what it is. Most people get their facts from their state media, which is a sign of how our society's regressed. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, no, Lee Atwater is full of nonsense. You want to listen to somebody that knows what they're talking about. Ben Shapiro knows what he's talking about, and Dinesh D'Souza knows what he's talking about. Both people who are technically minorities, although Dinesh is a white guy in my book, and so is Ben Shapiro. He's just, I guess, a minority because he's Jewish. But anyway, yeah. So there. I guess that's all I can say about that. Oh boy, it's late, folks. It's after 11 o'clock here. Beating the weather. Yeah, I am. I'm beating the weather, so hopefully it'll stay. I bet you if I get on a plane tomorrow, we'll see clouds rolling to Durban. Tyler Helfers. Greetings from Iowa living in Stellenbosch. Sorry to miss your visit to Western Cape. Thanks for the content. Grace and peace. Well, Tyler, I'll be back in Western Cape, and odds are I'll probably be staying at Zorgfleet again in the saddle between Stellenbosch and Franschhoek. Yeah, I'll be back down there. We'll see what happens. I'll probably be doing a meet and greet, but I've never done one in Stellenbosch. It'd be cool to do a meet and greet there, but people actually got to come to it. If I do a meet and greet in Stellenbosch, probably the only person will show up will be Garrett coming up from Somerset West. Thomas Sowell is another great person to listen to for the truth. He knows what he's talking about. Do you like Joe Rogan? Helene Henstock. Joe Rogan to me is the boring actor who was in news radio. He was the handyman there, and he wasn't very funny. His lines were pretty lame. That's how I know Joe Rogan. I have listened to him on his podcast. I find him to be boring and not interesting at all. He's just famous because of his fighting, UFC or whatever it is he did for a while there. And people latched onto him. He started the program. He had money behind him and a big name. And so when you've got that, I don't find him at all interesting. Not at all. A lot of people love him. You can love him. I don't care for him. What about, Victor Davis Hanson? Of course, I mentioned Victor Davis Hanson earlier. He's been a guest on my program several times. Can't wait to get back to the Cape so he can get his hand on raspberry vice. You're right, Grasshopper. But they have them in Gauteng as well. Me too, says Helene. Jacques says, good night. See you tomorrow. Safe travels. Muriel Hayes. I was always suspicious of Michael. One thing Western Cape under the DA has to speak for itself. As you said, it was good. Well, Tani Pat will be the only man representing the good party in Parliament. They've lost everything. Yeah, we'll talk more about the election, how some of these parties did. I'll have an upcoming interview, most likely with Chris Pappas. I've already reached out to Peter Hernevald. Hopefully I get a response there quickly. And I will be reaching out to Neil De Beer. And by today I liberated one of the UIM signs in Durban next to Moses Mabhida Stadium outside Kings Park. I liberated one of the UIM's signs with Neil De Beer's picture on it. And I sat down with the stadium behind me, the soccer stadium, holding the sign. I sent it to Neil De Beer saying, I liberated one of your signs. The trolls are on here trying to pinpoint where Chris is staying and when and where. Yeah. Well, you'll notice I don't say where I stay. I just give towns, and they may not be the true location. Yeah, so there you have it. So good luck running around trying to find where I'm at when I'm giving the wrong town that I'm staying in. Anyway, did the eternally enslaved Irish that lived in America's South during slavery have an inability to resist or recognize just how unjust the system was? Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by that. The Irish weren't enslaved in the South. They were Scots, Irish, and Irish who were indentured servants. The Irish were enslaved in the Caribbean by the British, starting with Oliver Cromwell in the 17th century. For 100 years, they captured Irish men, women, boys, and girls, shipped them to the Bahamas and to the Caribbean and enslaved them, cutting sugar cane and then mixing and breeding them with African slaves. True story. Anyway. This is the best time to chat for South Africans. We're all wide awake. Well, not all. We had 300 earlier. We're down to 162 people, so apparently somebody's gone. Elle says, I really like Neil De Beer. Met him a month ago. Had a good chat. Okay. EFF going to watch you, bro. The EFF doesn't care about me. I have no effect on them. This is the best time to chat. Okay. All right. So there you have it, folks. All right. I'm kind of knackered, and I'm going to flight tomorrow. Are you going to go? What's this? You're going to get poster signed. Actually, Brendan, that's a good idea. I should have done that, but the only person I'll probably see of all these political parties will be Neil De Beer. Maybe he can sign mine. I hadn't thought about that. I do have a signed jersey. Chris Marie got me a Lions jersey signed by Yanni Duplessis. Oh, that's pretty cool. Can't wait to get that. All right. Love all my peoples. We are still the best. All right. Thanks, Amanda. And we're going to wrap it up here. Be sure to hit the like button, folks, as we shed viewers like viral particles after 2300 on a Wednesday. I can't go to bed. I got to take a short nap and get up. I got a radio show here at 1 a.m., so that's less than 2 hours away, so I'll be on the radio. Anyway, what about all the kills in Mpumalanga? I don't know what you're talking about. What kills? Anyway. All right, folks. Thank you very much. Be sure to hit the like button. Become a subscriber if you're not one already. And awkwardly, I'm good to see you there again. God bless, and thanks, everybody, for showing up tonight. It's my pleasure. And yes, Helene, why am I a WP supporter? Well, I've already told that story many times because they had won the most Curry Cups. I like the uniform. And when I started following rugby in the early 1980s, and I became a Province supporter. So there you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for asking. Cheers. Be safe out there. Take care of yourselves.